Monterey County, and I am here on a pre-recorded interview with Eric Palmer, who is running for City Council for the City of Monterey, District 3. With me is my sister board member, Margie Kay. Margie will be doing the interview, and I will be doing the timekeeping and the recording of this time together. So with that, let me just say welcome, Margie, and welcome, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. It's a pleasure to be here, and we're going to begin with Eric Palmer introducing himself for 1 minute, and then I'll follow with 4 questions. We will conclude with Eric providing us with closing remarks. Eric, please make your introductory remarks. You have 1 minute.
Hello, my name is Eric Palmer, and I'm running for Monterey City Council, District 3, and I'm very excited about the opportunity to run for office and represent the people of Monterey. And I'm honored to have the consideration for an endorsement from the Democratic Women of Monterey County. I moved here when I was 18 to attend CSU Monterey Bay, and I recently turned 40, so I've lived here for 22 years. And from the week after graduation from CSUMB, I've been working in public service, including the City of Monterey for 15 years, Cal State Monterey Bay, Monterey Bay Office of Education, and I currently work for the Monterey Regional Waste Management District. I love working for my community. I want to do more. I live in a multi-family household with 3 families. I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, and throughout my campaign, I've been getting a lot of positive feedback about my message to represent working families, and I think the Monterey City Council will benefit from the perspective of a working parent and a community engagement professional of almost 2 decades.
Thank you. Please tell us what the top 3 most pressing issues are in your city and how you plan to address them. You have up to 5 minutes.
Well, we have a major housing crisis, so addressing this will be my #1 priority. Council addressing the needs of the low-income residents and the middle class and seniors on fixed incomes has not been urgent to do programs like affordable housing programs and working to build more affordable housing. So it's very urgent for me. I worked for the City of Monterey for 15 years, and it was very frustrating for me as a young city staffer to not see it prioritized, because in the meantime, I was working multiple jobs for most of my adult life. I know it's like to be a student, a graduate looking for a career and desperately trying to live in the city I've grown to love. And now I know what it's like to be a working parent with astronomical childcare and rent costs. So that's going to be top of mind for me to address. The other is deferred maintenance of public facilities. We have even though we have had city managers for the past 3 decades who are public works officials. We have almost 300 million to our library, our fire stations, and our police station, and our recreation centers. And I think that's really unacceptable. And it's now incumbent on the current residents and my generation and future generations to address this deferred maintenance, and we need to find funding solutions because it's unacceptable, especially for firefighters who live almost half their life in the fire stations, to live in such shoddy conditions. We have a beloved library with hundreds of families coming there every day. It should be it's a jewel, and we need to take care of that. So deferred maintenance is really important. So is water scarcity. We really need public water first and foremost. I currently work for a special district where any revenue that comes in is, since we're a government agency, we put that money back into innovations and making sure that we recycle better. So as opposed to a private company who uses their revenue to enrich shareholders. So we need a public water supply. We have a lot of help with Monterey One Water to increase water, but in order for us to build more affordable housing, which is #1 priority of mine, we need to address water. The other thing that I think is really important is inclusiveness in our elected councils, and then we also appoint boards and commissions. We need diversity. We need to make sure that the councils and our executive staff and our city workers are representative of the community that they serve. So I'm very thankful that right now we have the most diverse council that we've ever had in history. The first openly gay and Black mayor, the first Black woman ever on council, the first Latino on council, and he is in an underrepresented neighborhood that has never ever had a council member in the history of the city of Monterey. So I want to continue to help elect more diverse and representative councils, and the city council is also in charge of the many boards and commissions that we have. And I would like to bring in more new and diverse voices, and I feel like I'm one of them. I'm a working parent. You never ever see, not ever, but very rarely see working parents on city councils, and I don't think our priorities are being addressed. So inclusiveness is going to be very important. And then there's climate change, and climate resiliency is really important. Sea level rise is going to cause water in our lifetime to come into our major arteries. And we need to be ready for that. There's infrastructure that needs to be saved, but we also we need to find solutions that don't harm the Monterey Bay, because that should be top of mind, is protecting the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. Climate resiliency also involves wildfire risk. I live in my district, it's forested, and there's a lot of threats of wildfire. So we need to make sure that we do fuel mitigation and help inform residents about how they can create defensible space and be really prepared, because we haven't had wildfires since I think the 80s in Pebble Beach.
Thank you. The next question is on housing. The California Democratic Platform supports, and I quote, allowing local communities to create strong tenant and affordability protections without the conflict of state law. What are your thoughts on this? You have up to 3 minutes to respond.
Again, like in my last, when we were talking about my priorities, we are in a housing crisis, and addressing this will be my #1 priority. We need to address the struggles of low-income residents, the middle class, seniors on fixed incomes. I recently learned that a police officer or a teacher is considered low income if they're in a one-bedroom apartment. That's absolutely unacceptable. In my district, we've had consolidation of elementary schools, and that's because families are being displaced. We don't have enough families to fill our schools. A lot of them are homeless. A lot of students are homeless. That is absolutely unacceptable. I fear for the education of our kids if we lose teachers, nurses, even high-paying jobs are now at stake, because people can, doctors and law enforcement, people who are typically paid a lot will go somewhere else if they can't afford, if they don't want to have deal with the cost of living. So this is going to be very urgent for me. And as I said, I know what it's like to be a struggling student. I know what it's like to be a graduate looking for a career. And then again, I'm a working parent, and I had childcare that costs $3,000 because of Cal-Am. My water bill is $500 a month. Rent costs are out of control. The only reason I'm a homeowner is because I live with my sister-in-law, who is a single mom, and my twin brother and his wife. That's the only way that I was able to afford to buy a house. I'm very fortunate. I want to continue rental assistance programs to prevent displacement of residents who fall on hard times. We need to build more affordable housing. The state is mandating that we build 4,000 new units. And I'm an architectural review commissioner, and I've already helped approve housing developments. I have the expertise and the experience to ensure that any new development fits harmoniously in neighborhoods and business districts, so I can ensure the community that we can build new housing while maintaining the special character of Monterey. I want to build affordable housing near jobs, public transit and walking and biking paths, such as downtown and North Fremont. We have the capability to build. We need people that want to build housing. Sometimes we have not in my backyard type of elected officials or residents, but I'm ready to tackle that. And that is my #1 priority, is building affordable housing and preventing the displacement of residents.
Thank you. The next question is on climate change. What are the main threats from climate change in your city, and how will you address them? You have up to 3 minutes to respond.
So in Monterey, every single season is scary for residents due to climate change. And in the winter, we have storms that topple trees, damage property. We have power outages, flooding. I'm concerned about our evacuation routes getting blocked. And then our public safety and public works staff are overwhelmed and overworked. And then the rest of the year, wildfire is a major concern. My district is made up of pine forest. We haven't had a fire, again, as I mentioned, we haven't had a fire in our Monterey pine forest, which extends from my district down to Pacific Grove, and wildfire can spread really easily since the 80s in Pebble Beach. So the trees are dry, the underbrush is dry. So I support major annual investment in fuel reduction and wildfire mitigation. We need constant communication and education with property owners about what they can do to create defensible space. And I think we should provide low-income owners with subsidies to create that defensible space and have the material collected and delivered to the facility that I work at. And while the other issue about climate change is sea level rise, and we're starting to see those king tides come in. The city has these makeshift dunes that, protect the park and the infrastructure, but those are really temporary measures. And while I've been campaigning, I've heard some really alarming solutions for sea level rise from some conservative leaders. They want to build a seawall that would extend from our second wharf all towards seaside. And we really need to ask ourselves, is that what we want as a community? Are we going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to build an ugly wall on our scenic coastline that can harm the Monterey Bay and destroy our ability to have beach access? I want to explore nature-based solutions such as managed retreat, because again, we have to be caretakers of our Monterey Bay, and we must protect the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary at all costs. So I want to work with, property owners that live along the water and businesses, and be prepared to look at nature-based solutions instead of armoring the coast. And again, we need to be caretakers of the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. So the big issues with climate change are wildfire risk and sea level rise, and those will also be a big priority for me.
Thank you. The next question pertains to women and racial rights, or the significance of diversity, inclusion, and equity. Is there a gender and/or racial gap on your commissions, committees, and boards in your city? If so, how will you address this? And you have up to 3 minutes to respond.
I'm really glad to be asked this question. Our city council and our city staff must be representative of our community, as I mentioned in the first question. I'm really optimistic about the future. Ever since our voters elected the most diverse city council in our history, because in my 17 years of local government, when I worked at the city, it really frustrated me to see that we largely had retired, affluent white men from the same neighborhood that have typically been our representatives, and their priorities aren't going to be representative of everyone. So it's very, very important that we have diversity, equity, and inclusion on our councils and in our executive staff, and in the staff that we hire. I know that's not hiring our frontline staff isn't part of our we don't hire, but to create those policies is really important, because in order to gain trust from and to gain more public participation, people are going to feel more comfortable if they have representatives. We need let me think here. We need inclusion is one of the biggest concerns that our residents need to be aware of, because we're fighting for it as we speak. It's really important to our mayor, Councilmember Barber, and Councilmember Garcia. I just want to give an example. They did a lot of outreach recently to get people to apply for appointed boards and commissions. The mayor made sure that the nominations for these people were from diverse backgrounds and from underrepresented neighborhoods. And sadly, this caused a lot of backlash. Several board members have been rubber stamped for decades. Before I was born, they've been on these commissions. And so what the mayor tried to do is bring in new voices. And we got over 60 applications, and there's a lot of backlash to this, and it's very disappointing. They feel entitled to continue instead of being open to new voices. And it was an insult to all those people who wanted to volunteer to say that we should keep people who have been there for decades instead of rotating new voices. The progressive majority also voted for term limits, which I support, because that helps with the rotation of bringing in new and diverse voices. So I'm running because we need more young working class residents and parents on the city council. We need renters. We need more women. We need more hospitality. We need hospitality workers. So as a council member, diversity, equity, and inclusion will be on top of mind for me when hiring executives and appointing board and commission members.
Thank you. We will now end with your closing statement. What would you like our viewers to take away about you and your candidacy? And you have up to 1 minute.
So I think that the organizations like the Democratic Women of Monterey County, there's the Monterey County New Progressives, and now we have a great new organization called the PG Progressives, and you're all doing admirable work to elect underrepresented groups to local office, such as women and people of color. Your groups are made up of people that I admire a lot. And it's been an honor to receive endorsements from many of the Democratic women leadership in our county, such as Jane Parker and Supervisor Wendy Rudiskew and Councilmember Kim Barber, just to name a few. But it would be really a great honor to receive your endorsement, since you're an organization that is a trusted voice in our community. So please consider endorsing a working parent. This is an underrepresented group too, and I will fight for the working class and prevent displacement of families and improve the quality of life for everyone. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Eric, for your time. Thank you, Margie, for your time. And we look forward to seeing you out in the community, and best of luck on your race, Eric. Thank you
Thanks
for being
for the opportunity.
Bye.
Appreciate it. Good seeing you both.
Bye. Hi, I'm Dr. Lisa Berkeley. I'm president of the Democratic Women of Monterey County, and this is a recorded interview with Jean Rasch, who is a city council candidate for the city of Monterey, District 3. And I'm sitting here too with my sister board member, Margie Kay, who is also our secretary. In this interview, I will be responsible for keeping time and for doing the recording, and Margie will be conducting the interview. And with that, I'd like to say welcome, Margie, and welcome, Jean.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. It's a pleasure to be here. We're going to begin with Jean introducing herself for 1 minute, and then I'll follow with 4 questions. We will conclude with Jean providing us with closing remarks. Jean, please make your introductory remarks, and you have up to 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. I'm Jean Rasch. Thank you for this opportunity to earn your endorsement. I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I'm running for the City of Monterey City Council in District 2, which is 2 neighborhoods. I've lived in the city of Monterey for 14 years and in Carmel 4 years before that. and I have deep extended family roots in Monterey County for 5 generations. I just retired after a 23-year career in estate planning and special needs trust planning, and after a 25-year career in health before that, including 18 years as a nurse midwife delivering babies in the Bay Area hospitals. I have a very deep community service background, and have been involved as a city activist since I moved here. I joined our neighborhood association covering 3,000 residents and have been the president for 3 years and on the board for 12 years. I joined the City of Monterey Neighborhood and Community Improvement of $4 to $5 million in transient
Jean?
occupancy tax.
Okay, Jean, we're gonna have to ask you to wrap it.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
you have,
Okay, go ahead, Margie. Next question.
thank you. Please tell us what the top 3 most pressing issues are in your city and how you plan to address them. You have up to 5 minutes to respond.
Oh, thank you. Housing is always a critical issue throughout the city of Monterey. We are mandated to need 3,654 new housing units in the city of Monterey for the next 8 years. So a lot of our focus has been on how to generate that. We need reasonably priced rental housing for our younger workers, for our retiring seniors, and for our working residents unable or uninterested in buying. So my priorities would be that our public water owned by the city of Monterey would be prioritized for affordable housing projects like the Van Buren project that we completed a year or 2 ago, and that the water credits, public water credits should go there. I support the city obtaining and developing more public land for affordable housing as projects that must remain forever under the ownership of the city of Monterey. So within housing is the problem of water, and that's an essential issue. So I support Monterey One, Pure Water Monterey. They're doing an incredible job. They now are producing 3,500 acre feet of water a year. That's equivalent to 7,000 homes. And when the project is expanded over the next few years, next 2 to 5 years, it will produce 5,750 acre feet of water, which is 11,500 homes. So that's 1.9 billion gallons of water annually. So that's a lot of housing and would meet our projected need. Also on water, I supported Measure J, which is the initiative in 2018 to look into the feasibility of buying the water. And I support efforts to buy out Cal-Am. The third issue is very dear and near to my heart, and that's our social resiliency. And that means the community's ability to withstand stressors, withstand COVID, withstand the stressors of modern life. And I feel that the #1 priority for that is our neighborhood associations. They are strong in Monterey, and I want to commit to making them stronger through long and deep discussions on what is a neighborhood association, how can we help them, how can we get them stronger. They are the web that binds the city together, and I want them respected, and I want them acknowledged, and I don't want them deconstructed. I want them strengthened with city help and recognition by the city. We have in the neighborhood community improvement program, we have to have representatives from the 16 neighborhoods in order to allocate the transient occupancy money that is distributed by the 16 representatives. And I want that process vetted through the neighborhood associations and the opinion of the neighborhood associations as to who that representative should be honored and represented. With social resiliency also comes a huge issue in the 3rd district, and that is safety. We have many trees, and many of them are dead. So the issue of fire safety is huge in my community. It is also citywide huge, but especially in my community. And I want to lead in a deep dive of how to keep our trees healthy, how to get them down. The neighborhood and community improvement program that allocated $1 million this year for removal of dead fuel in our forests. And I want to keep that up. I want to work with the fire department. I just hosted with the Monterey Vista Neighborhood Association a very successful presentation on fire safety, on the issues of insurance and the problems getting fire insurance, on the community emergency.
Thank you. The next question is on housing. The California Democratic Platform supports, and I quote, allowing local communities to create strong tenant and affordability protections without the conflict of state law. What are your thoughts on this? And you have up to 3 minutes to respond.
Okay. Well, right now we're under the Costa-Hawkins Act, which prevents rent control of single-family houses and condos. And there's going to be a Proposition 33 to allow each jurisdiction to make their own decision. And I'm pro-choice in just about everything you can talk to me about. And I do believe that if a jurisdiction wants to consider rent control, that they should not be prohibited from that. So that's how I feel about Prop 33. And the SB 9 mandates the administrative approval of secondary units for housing. And they can be really up to, on an R residential 1 parcel, we can put now 6 units. And as long as one is affordable. And what I really want to deep dive about with the city is whether we shouldn't be having all 6 units be affordable. So there's a lawsuit against SB 9. It's Redondo Beach versus Fonda, and it's bringing up the issue that SB 9 is illegal as to charter cities unless it addresses the state crisis of housing, and it's claiming, and I think correctly, that it's not addressing the crisis of housing unless it's linked with affordability. And so I think all 6 units should be affordable. I think that's the only way the state should be intruding on zoning, is to declare the crisis that housing is and to mandate that all 6 units should be affordable. So that's how I think about that. And let's see, and the rest of housing and the mandates. Monterey has, as you might know, been very active. We established a rental assistance program. $250,000 was allocated for the first year, and that's been very successful. And the money is applied for once a month, and it goes very, very quickly. So obviously there's a need. And we have a rental registry, and that's in force. And so we have some protections for our renters, and a good start on housing. We have a public housing project in design and in the works, and that's right behind Fulton Hall, and that should be coming through.
This next question is on climate change. What are the main threats from climate change in your city, and how will you address them? You have up to 3 minutes to respond.
Well, of course, it's a huge global problem, but some things we can do that sounds simple, but I think would add up, and we're talking about a smaller jurisdiction, is we can decrease the use of gas two-stroke engines. So we've begun that by outlawing leaf blowers in residential areas. Gas leaf blowers, they have to use electric in residential areas. So we need to expand that to the whole city, and we need to phase out our gas two-stroke engines. That would help a lot. We need to encourage the utilization of electric vehicles, and that includes, we need many more charging stations. And we have to update our city codes, which mandate, it's only about 10% have to be EV when we redo a parking lot. And that needs to go to, I mean, in my world, it would be 100%. If you are redoing a parking lot, you're recreating it, it should be 100% electric vehicle chargers, so that by the time we're all electric in the 2030s, we have adequate infrastructure for that. Taking, presuming that it'll take 15 or 20 years to upgrade every parking lot. So that's another item that could be. We also need a light rail. We need public transit. We need our electric buses, our buses to be electric. We need a regional light rail system from Gilroy down to the Monterey area and from San Francisco down. That's huge, probably way out of the league of a council member, but I would be encouraging our mayor to keep working with the League of Cities for regional changes in infrastructure that would bring down the carbon emissions. Also, we have a tree planting program where a lot of trees get planted in the appropriate place. And so we're quite big on that. And that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question pertains to women and racial rights, or the significance of diversity, inclusion, and equity. Is there a gender and/or racial gap on your commissions, committees, and boards in your city? If so, how will you address this? You have up to 3 minutes to respond.
Well, proportionate to our population, I think it's pretty well in balance. Women certainly are represented in a lot of the commissions, including the neighborhood and community improvement program commissions, and not so much on the council. It's always been a minority of women, but the racial balance is present there. I think having a sensitivity to those issues is always important, and perhaps where it's the weakest in the city of Monterey is with the Latino representation. And I would be very supportive of course, of increasing that. And I wonder if we shouldn't be having Spanish translation of at least our council meetings, so that we can encourage residents to be able to, if they have the time, be on top of city issues, and then develop their interest in working on the commissions. But if there's a language barrier, we need to overcome that. So that seems to be the most pressing thing to me. We're doing pretty well. We have disabled people on our commissions, and we have many gender issue people in our commissions, and it's comfortable and it's natural, and we pay attention, but it has happened, evolved with a lot of consciousness, to the point where, well, I think we're doing very well. Having said that, I would like to be the second woman on the council. I'm not sure we've ever had 2 women at the same time on the council. So I look forward to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now end with your closing statement. What would you like our listeners and viewers to take away about you and your candidacy? And you have up to 1 minute.
Okay. I think what needs to be understood is that I am the candidate coming from a community activist background. The other candidate is saying that he comes from public service and he's talking about his job. I have a job. I've had a job too that benefited people in the public. But my activism has been from advocacy and involvement with the community that is very deeply based in wanting to serve. And it's a 12 to 15 year seva of giving that I've had. Now I'm at a time in my life when I can do that, but I think that needs to be understood. I'm newly retired. I have great experience and great background and the ability to step in on day one to serve my community with a long, deep background and the community experience to enter.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean, and thank you, Margie, for being here with us. And Jean, we'll see you out in the community and best of luck on your candidacy.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Margie.
See you later. Bye-bye. Thank you.